So today I wanted to do something a little bit different. And I wanted to talk about something that people don't want you to talk about. And it's very apparent that they don't want you to talk about this. And for me, I don't understand why. Maybe there's a few things that I can understand, but at the end of the day, this is something that's important. This is something that people need to know about. People need to see this. They need to see it from other perspectives. They need to try to understand where people are coming from, because mental health, it's a real thing. Depression, it's real. Anxiety, real. People deal with these things on a day-to-day basis, and every single person deals with anxiety, depression, completely different from one another. We're not all the same. We don't all think the same. We don't all feel the same. We don't all do the same things. So why, in 2020, is it still not okay to talk about being depressed or being anxious? Now, if you guys have followed this channel for a while, you may have seen I put out a video years ago where I talked about dealing with depression. I've dealt with it almost all of my life. I've dealt with depression longer than I want to, since I've been 14 years old. Now, you may have known I dropped out of high school at 14, and when I did that, I just spent years alone. I was depressed. I didn't want to be alive, and that's just the reality of it, right? And when you feel that way, it's hard to see the future, right? It's hard to see what could become of you. And for me, I still deal with it. Still deal with depression. Still feel terrible sometimes. And the unfortunate thing of this is, I don't think there's a cure. I don't think there's a cure for depression. At least I've never found it. No matter what medication I've took, no matter, different exercises or different ways to go and live about your life, I haven't figured it out yet. I still deal with it every day. And you guys may have seen that by videos that I have posted, even somewhat recently. I have issues that I don't understand, that I don't know how to deal with. I have a mental illness, and I can acknowledge that. But why should I be ashamed to share that? Why should I be ashamed to share the thoughts and the feelings that I have? Why do people say, Zach, you shouldn't share that. You shouldn't show people that side of you. You shouldn't make that, available to the world. Why? Because people look down on that? Because there's a stigma around it? Because you are, perceived as a weak person? I can't get on board with that. Do you know how much courage it takes to get out on the internet of all things and share a video? You get to see me face to almost face, obviously, we're not face to face, but you guys get to see me. You guys get to see a lot of me and hear a lot from me. Why should I not share that? So basically what's being, or what's happening here is people are just saying no, just don't share that. Don't talk about that. Nobody wants to hear that. But you know what? There are people that want to hear this. There are people that need to know you're not alone. You're not alone in dealing with an illness or a problem. We all go through it. And I know by me saying that, it doesn't make it better. And I told you flat out, I don't think there's anything that makes it better. But you find ways to deal with it. You do. You figure out ways to deal with the issues that you face. And as much as I want to say, there's a cure for this. There's something that can be done. And I'm sure for many people, medication might work, or meditation even, or exercise. Those might be things that help people, but not everybody experiences that. Not everybody, can go through those same types of experiences and overcome. And, you guys think, and I think this is mostly why it's very important, is because you guys perceive me as this YouTuber, right? And I had this conversation last night even with somebody. I have 150,000 subscribers, successful, right? You guys would see this as success, right? This is my job. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, that doesn't make me better. That doesn't make me feel better. It has nothing to do with that. And so it's when you see these celebrities who would appearing like from appearance, they have it all. They have all the money, they have all the fame. What more could they possibly want, right? You guys see this, and you see that these celebrities deal with mental illness. They deal with mental illness. They deal with issues, with depression, with anxiety, and some of these people, they, commit suicide, right? And you wonder, like, why? You had it all. You had everything that you could possibly want, right? But to them, it's not everything they could possibly want. It's not everything. You still wake up every day and you battle demons. No matter how much money you have, no matter how much fame you have, no matter how other people perceive you, you still wake up fighting demons every single day. A lot of us go through this. A lot of us figure out ways to deal with it, and a lot of us don't. And it's unfortunate. But it's most unfortunate that we can't talk about it, that we can't acknowledge the fact that we can be successful and be depressed. We can't be successful and have anxiety. We can't talk about that because for whatever reason, when you acknowledge the fact that you're depressed or anxious, you immediately get treated like, an outcast, like there is something wrong with you, right? Like you can't associate with this person because they have a mental illness. You can't associate with them as a successful business person because they have mental illness. Well, that's BS. That's just simple BS. When you have depression, when you have anxiety and you live with it every day and you wake up with it every day and you're fighting yourself constantly, you're constantly at battle with your mind. Constantly. And you may perceive things a certain way because you kind of have that constant battle of, is this going to make me happy? Is this going to make me feel better? Will this make me less anxious? Will doing this do something to make it better? Will doing anything at all make any part of my situation better? And you do things that may not always be right. You lash out against people, against companies. And it's not that, you hate anybody or you dislike anybody, and it's at times you don't even know what you're doing. Like you could be in that moment and you could be thinking very, very hard about exactly what you're going to do, exactly what you're going to say. And sometimes it's not until after you do it, you're like, oh, I shouldn't have said that. I shouldn't have done that. I think people with brain health issues do that often. We do. We can be at fault for that. We can be blamed for that. We take responsibility for our actions. That's what adults do. That's what human beings do or should do. You should always take responsibility for your actions. And I would never use depression or anxiety as a crutch. Yeah, I suffer from these things on a day-to-day basis. I'm not going to go back and say, well, I didn't do that right because I'm depressed, or I said that and I shouldn't have said that, but I only said it because I'm depressed. No, said stuff. I'm an adult. I'm gonna acknowledge that. I'm gonna say, yep, I said it. Punish me as you see fit, right? Or I'll deal with the consequences. Right at the time, you don't necessarily think about those consequences. At the time, you're looking for that next way to get better. That next endorphin, adrenaline rush to make you feel good. It's like drug addicts, right? Like you might, shoot up heroin for the first time and you're like, wow, this made me feel, I've never done it. Please keep that in mind. But from what I've heard and watching Intervention and all those types of shows, like you do it and then you feel amazing, right? And you've never had this feeling before. It's like when you drink alcohol, you get drunk, right? Like it's a different feeling. You never had that feeling before. And people who enjoy that type of feeling, or people who like I want to put quote unquote need that feeling to feel better, to go about their day, they start chasing that high, right? And that's why people become addicted, right? They're constantly chasing a high. They're constantly chasing a way to feel better. And that's, you can compare like a lot of addiction to mental health issues because they oftentimes go hand in hand. And just with mental health, you're constantly trying to get that next fix. You're constantly trying to find that next way to validate, your thoughts, your feelings, and try to figure out how you make it better. And you do things and say things that obviously you shouldn't do or say sometimes. And it gets difficult, right? Like, you're in a constant battle with yourself. You're constantly trying to figure out how to make it better. You're constantly trying to figure out these different ways to make it better. And does it get better? Sometimes it does. Sometimes it does. But ultimately, you figure out ways to deal with it all. Well, we're not all created equally, right? We're not. Some of us deal with this stuff much better than others. But to say, Zach, you shouldn't share that. Zach, don't say that. Don't let people see that side of you. Don't let people know you're depressed. Don't let people know that you have a hard time. No. Everybody needs to see this. Everybody needs to know. Like, if you are hiding the fact that you're depressed, like, I can understand that. I can appreciate that. But you shouldn't have to. There's no reason that you should have to do that. And it's so funny because, people always say, like, if you're depressed, if you're feeling anxious, if you're feeling this, if you're feeling that, reach out to people. And, if people notice that you're this way, your friends should be reaching out to you and seeing if you're okay and this, that, and the other. It doesn't always work like that. It's not reality. Reality is people don't know how to deal with this. People don't understand it. Like, if you've never woken up, and you can wake up one day feeling depressed or sad or lost or anxious, but when you wake up day after day, fighting yourself initially just to wake up, just to get out of bed, fighting yourself constantly throughout the day to do what you're supposed to do a task. Some people have no idea how difficult it is just to get out of bed, let alone go to work, take care of your kids, pay your bills. Like, when you're depressed, when you are at your bottom, you can't function. You don't know how to function. That's the problem. Your mind is so diluted and so confusing. You don't know what to do and you don't know where to start. That's part of depression, right? That's part of dealing with mental illness. And more people need to know this and understand this and need not be afraid to share this, to share the fact that we all deal with it. I, like I said, by all means could be considered successful. I should pat myself on the back for having 150,000 YouTube subscribers and pat myself on the back for YouTube being my full-time job. It's a dream job that everybody wishes they could have, right? But behind the scenes, I'm no different than any one of you. Behind the scenes, I deal with the same issues you all deal with. Behind the scenes, I struggle. You guys know that. Some days I wake up and I don't know what to do. I don't know where to start. I don't know how to feel. Like, I'm lost. There's many days where you deal with this and you figure it out. And I'll talk about that in future videos around this topic because I'm going to keep talking about this topic and I'm going to keep sharing my story. I'm going to let people know that you can be vocal about having a mental illness. It's okay. You aren't a bad person. You aren't a less of a person. You are a person. You are a human being. And we all have that ability to feel. And we can feel different from one another. We can think different from one another. Just because somebody says you shouldn't feel that way, you shouldn't share that information with people, doesn't mean that you shouldn't. It shouldn't be, there shouldn't be a stigma around this. There shouldn't be people telling you not to share those innermost secrets, those innermost feelings that you have, because this right here, this is important. the more we hide it, the more we say, no, don't do that. The more we feel like we can't share it because we have to worry about what other people think, the more of a problem this becomes. If we're not acknowledging the fact that we all have some types of issues and we all have to figure out, how we live our lives, and we all have to figure out how we deal with depression and anxiety, like, if we can't share that with others, like, we're never going to get over the stigma. We're never going to get past the fact that there's people out there who treat you differently because of it. It's unfortunate. It's sad. Like, I get it from people close to me. Like, Zach, don't share that. You shouldn't say that. You shouldn't put that out there for the world to see. But you know what? They're wrong. I respect these people. I respect these people more than most people in my life. These are people who are very, very close to me, who tell me, you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't let people see that from you. Why? Why? I'm frustrated. It's unfortunate. And I want people to be more aware of this. You guys see it all across the world, like we said. And I want people to share their stories. I want people to know you're not alone. I'm going to continue to do this. I'm going to continue to share my story. And I'm going to continue to say things that people don't want me to say about this subject. Because if I don't, who else is going to do it? Who else is going to put themselves out there? Who else is going to cry on a freaking live stream sharing the way that they feel? Right? Who does that? I do it. Because this is real life. This is reality. This is what people deal with, and this is what I deal with on a day-to-day basis. And I should be able to share this so that other people are aware of it. And so everybody else out there who deals with it, you guys know you're not alone. You figure out ways to deal with it, though. You figure out ways to overcome. There's always going to be challenges. You're always going to, somewhat feel terrible, not always, but, some days you wake up, you feel real terrible. Today, I woke up, I felt great. I did. And I'm here recording this video, sharing my thoughts, my feelings. But, tomorrow I might wake up and I might not even want to be alive, right? Like, that's what people with depression go through. Anyway, that's all I wanted to put out for this video, because it's awareness. It's awareness, and you need to be aware, and you need to not be afraid. And for all of you guys out there who say or tell people, don't share that, don't let people see that, you're the problem. I'm sorry, I respect you, but you're the problem. Don't tell people that. Let people share their thoughts, their feelings, what they're going through, because they need to do that, and they shouldn't be afraid to do that. Nobody should be afraid to share their thoughts and their feelings and worry about being stigmatized for it, being less of a person because of it. No, not on board with that. So this is going to be mental health. So this is going to be mental health awareness. And that's what we're going to be doing. That's what I'm going to talk about. And I'm going to continue to do it. Because if I don't know anybody else that will. And if we don't share it and talk about it, well, sometimes it feels like it's not real to other people. But it's real. This is real life. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.